fellas. You ready, DMAC?
Whenever we're live right now, probably.
Yeah, we're live right now.
Well, it's just recording.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Keep it included. No cussing?
They try not to. I'm pretty sure both DMAC
Family
members
program.
respect that.
Arms here first.
Alright guys, well this is the first ever podcast on the Hicks Outdoors channel. I'm sure DMAC Outdoors over here, who's joining us on Zoom today, is gonna do snippets or whatever he wants to do with it. I'm not too concerned about it. But we got Braxton here, who's fairly new to the hunting world. Hoodjer, who's been around it for a while. Ero Wallin, actually your first year, like actually bow hunting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. And we got Ocho, Gabe Olson here for us. So big respect to those guys for coming out and helping me out make this video. But somebody want to pull up the prompt I sent in because I don't remember. I think the first thing was like
Highlights
of the season, like your favorite moments. So you can have Braxton start on his if he wants, or somebody want to jump in and go for it.
Are we looking at the computer or DMAC side or your phone?
Phone is filming us, but DMAC's just there so you can see us.
Okay.
I'll go back and forth between DMAC and the phone.
Let's start. So me? Yeah. It was a little bit of a roller coaster of a season. Put a lot of time into the woods, a lot of sits, didn't see a whole lot. But still, just every sit that I didn't see anything, I just learned. It was all part of the process, and then that one moment came, and I was ready for it, and it was just an unreal experience, just being able to harvest a really nice buck.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of highs and lows throughout the season.
Yes.
I definitely experienced my highest of high to lowest of lows this year. For me personally, having missed probably arguably what would have been my biggest buck up to this point after hunting really, really hard all season. But like Jared, you had a fairly short season, honestly. You too, Ero. You guys were the first two, and then DMAC I think went the same day, didn't you?
Yeah, we got a triple up.
You guys had a really good day there in the woods.
Yeah, what was that? November 5th?
5th. Yeah, it was
November.
before Rut even got rolling around there for y'all.
Yeah, the Beaver Moon. That was what we shot it on.
I'd say my
was like the most popular day to kill a deer in November, I guess.
Yeah.
Put out an Instagram poll, DMAC, and see what people say.
So what?
Put out an Instagram poll and say most popular day to kill a deer. Put 5 options, all 5 options, November 5th.
Okay, perfect. I got you. I'll do that.
I'd say my highlight of the season, like Isaac said, November 5th, me, Jared, DMAC, we all rolled around. We all shot super nice bucks. Very fortunate for that. But honestly, I'd say like the combination between everybody shooting a nice deer this year and just being out in the woods. But we had a fall break. Do you remember when that was, Jared?
The 16th.
16th, yeah.
16th to like the 20th.
That was October 6th? Yeah, it had to be October 16th.
Yeah.
We had a fall break, and me and Hoodjer, we probably hunted, if it was a 7-day break, we hunted probably 14 times between morning and night. We were in the woods dang near every single day. We'd come back and regroup, eat dinner, and talk about what happened, what we saw. And honestly, like that was the funnest time of the year for me. I'd probably say that was totally my highlight of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I to venture off that. Like I went, especially with Hoodjer's buck, we went and dragged out. That was a group of us, and that was a lot of fun. Just being there with a group of guys, especially a couple of them that were pretty inexperienced in that area of like tracking a deer, and it was pretty cool walking up on a deer and much of them like first time seeing a freshly harvested deer. That was just a cool experience from my standpoint.
I guess for myself, I think the best part that I find the most enjoyable in the whole process is honestly the early season, like in September, leading up to October. I think the scouting part of things where, you're walking all over, especially on public ground, you're putting on many miles and you're exploring new territories and you're learning as you go. And then each year with the hunting season, you see how it plays out with what you thought was going to be the right move early season, and you kind of see how the rut patterns, follow that. I think year after year, you just learn more and more. And so like my favorite part was, going out and like scouting with these guys and like kind of putting a game plan from the get-go, and then obviously the best part is when you see all of your buddies shoot deer, and it all pays off with the hard work you put in before anyone even thinks about doing anything, and the patience even staying out of those spots in early October, or even like kind of that mid-October range, or staying out of some areas that you want to like let rest, and you don't want to put too much pressure on, where you go in there like that first or second sit and you shoot that buck. I think that's when you see people have success around you, and you're surrounded by like-minded guys. When everyone comes together and everyone has success, that's what is the best, in my opinion.
It's contagious too.
Yeah.
Like, people start shooting bucks, and like, if you have the drive, regardless, but then people are out there, and it's like, it's not a competition by any means, but it's just like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Time to get it done.
Yeah, I remember feeling that pretty hard when you guys double it up. Me and Olson were like, damn, we text each other, we're like, we need to get on some bucks now, so, yeah. I think my highlight of the season...
Go ahead, sorry.
I think my highlight of the season was just like, I think like, before season even started, I wasn't like too great of friends with any of these guys, and literally as soon as season hit and like we started all hunting, like we started getting together by hunting and stuff, I think it all clicked. Like, we all became friends because of it. Like, when Olson shot his doe, I went out there. I didn't even know Ero that well yet. We went to a campfire and Hoodjer was there, and I didn't know them too well yet. And just like being out with them and that experience helped me like become friends with them, and that's what put me on like a great season. I was able to go track Olson's doe with him, and with Ero and Stitchman, and then Hoodjer's deer. I got to go track it out with Messmore, all the guys, Olson. So yeah, and even just like learning from, especially Hoodjer, like kind of putting me up in my first stand in Volga because it's my first year here, and like hearing all like the scary things about trying to hunt in Volga and how hard it is, and Hoodjer kind of just like giving me showing me a spot, showing me how to even set up a tree stand for the first time was just kind of pretty good, and walking with him and him showing me how to look for sign, where to put a stand up and all that. I think that experience was pretty good highlight of the season. So
yeah, so like my highlight of the season, so I'm like Hoodjer. I love prep work. I love being able to get out there and seeing it all and just kind of imagine how this deer's going to move and get to my spot that I want it to get, and how to funnel it, like just seeing their deer movement. But since I didn't get a chance to do that in September like I normally do with Hoodjer and stuff, I had to kind of put my faith into like what I knew. So when I got back in Iowa at the very end of October, so my first hunt was on November 1st. I had to like just totally just decide that like I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go sit in this tree, but based off of what the map says, I never stepped on that property before, and I think it was the fifth day. I was sitting full days, so I mean it was the fifth day of sitting, and I finally shot this deer. But truth be told, I should have shot a deer the day before if my camera didn't die. I was full draw. I'll have it on the video when I post it, but I have a 10-point walking down the edge of this food plot right towards me. He's probably 30 yards from me, and I go full draw, and then my camera goes black. And I look down, I'm like, oh no. So I let down, and I'm like, he's working towards me at 30 yards. I'm like trying to get the camera off, trying to put the new battery on. Got it back on there. I look up, and he's staring right at me. I was like, oh no. He's probably 12 yards from me at that point. Bolts out on me. And then I was pretty upset about that. And then the next day, I noticed that day prior, just movement of how those deer were going to check their does in the morning, and then ended up in the same spot every time that night. And then this deer happened to just chase two does right by him, and I shot this one at 12 yards. And then after that, booked it down to Missouri and been hunting some land down here. And I had one day that I thought was ruined due to a farmer moving all their stuff through the property, mowing down corn stalks. And I hadn't seen a deer since, I think it was 10 a.m., and it was probably the 8th hour of the sit. And then all of a sudden, all the deer walked out, and that was the first time my shooter buck came out, and he was breeding a doe from me about 60 yards. That was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
That's going to be cool.
That's probably the second time I've seen it now, but I've been working hard on this place down in Missouri. Still got my bow tag, but shot quite a few does now. But we're still working on it, so hopefully my highlight of the season's still coming, but that's what I got so far.
Oh, so it goes well for you there the rest of the season here too. But
Yeah.
no, to go in with that scouting stuff, Hoodjer's like really the first guy I got boot to ground scouting with, and we actually kind of tried out a new tactic using the water to our advantage this year to try to get to a spot a little easier and make it a little less walk, a little quieter maybe. And honestly, we had a pretty good sit back there the time that we went, and we kind of figured out how deer move through there, and we adjust our stands off that. And then you shot your deer, what, the next day or 2 days after that?
Pretty close.
Pretty close to, so we never got a chance to go back there. And I went up to another private property off of all this public land and had my chance there. But scouting, I'm obviously partnered with Spypoint, so I do a lot of trail cam running through it all, and that's my main way of scouting and not have to get out in the woods.
Braxton?
I'd say my biggest thing that I'm proud of is just how much I've learned this year. I mean, usually I'd only go hunt if like I'd tag along and mooch off Isaac, go sit up in a tree with him, or go sit in a double stand with another buddy. This was really my first year kind of going out, sitting alone. It was my first time asking for permission to bow hunt off of a buddy. Got permission there, and I ended up getting a doe off of that, and then got permission off another property and got my buck off of there. So just learning through that and just going and sitting alone for kind of the first times really consistently. So it's probably my biggest thing is just how much I've learned through that.
For sure.
Sure. So, anybody got any other really big highlights they'd like to touch on?
I mean, obviously, the highlight is to call your buddy from a tree stand and tell him that you got the job done. But honestly, it's even more enjoyable when you're sitting on your couch and you get the phone call from your buddy and saying that, oh, I shot one. It's like, oh, it's time to go. Like, put the boots on, you get out to the woods and help pull that deer back out. But that's honestly one of my most enjoyable parts is helping other people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But,
So the day that we shot our deer, I think my favorite part of that was when Ero called me in the morning, said he shot one. He said, I think Jared's going out this afternoon. He says he's got a spot. Then Jared called me right away, and then I think it was, 15 minutes after you called me, I called you right back. I said, I just shot one. That was crazy.
Yep, I was still in the tree. I remember it. It was dark out, but you called me when I was still in the tree. And, yeah, that was a good day.
That was insane. I could not believe that. And when that deer walked by, there were so many bigger deer that I could have shot, and this one was just so perfect. In the right spot. It was exactly where I expected the deer to be. I was like, I can't pass this up. And I shot that deer, and I was like, it's kind of odd that Hoodjer told me that there's a good chance I'll see a deer today, and bang, right there.
Can't hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't hate that any. No, for sure. I was so pumped when I heard Hoodjer stuck one. I mean, I didn't find out about yours till a little later in the day, and then when Owen shot his, especially the caliber deer Owen shot this year. I mean, he shot a tank this year.
Yeah, that was a tank. Holy smokes.
Yeah, thank you to Ero's stand.
The sketchy stand.
Super nice stand, yeah. I'm sure Owen will touch
Is it close to
on
those
it.
pins that you and I were sharing back and forth?
Yeah. I'm sure Owen will touch on the awesome stand later.
Yeah,
but
go ahead and give whoever's watching a description of this, well, let alone the tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ero texts me. He's like, well, before he's like, I was like asking. He's like, yeah, you can hunt these two different stands. He's like, one of them. He's like, you definitely need a harness, and he's like, it's a little bit sketchy, but you'd be fine if you're wearing a harness. So I was like, okay. And the other one, I had to tighten the stand if I went to it. So I was like, I'm just gonna pick the one with a harness. It'll be fine. So I go there and I get up to the tree, and I just like looked at it and I was like, there's no shot this is the right stand. And I'm looking at it and it goes, a stick is like a ladder to get up. Then there's a dead branch, like completely dead. I had to climb onto that branch from the top of the stick, step on the dead branch. Then there was a stick going it was like another stick going like an angle. Yeah. So then I had to get on that stick while I was sideways. And then I was like, okay, I made it up the ladder finally, and I get onto the stand. One of the bar things to hold the platform was snapped off. So I'm on one little bar, putting my feet on one side of it. I've never used a harness in my life, so I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was just hooking stuff to stuff all over, any little carabiner I saw, I just hooked it to the stand. So I was just sitting up there just praying the whole time. But that was like the stand.
A disclaimer though, to be honest, I told you, I said this stand's kind of sketchy. It's missing a stanchion.
Yes, a little sketchy.
Yeah, it was a dandy.
It worked.
So I had a cameraman with me the other day, and he fell out of the tree.
Oh,
Because he wasn't wearing a harness.
Oh, that's why you wear your harness, I guess.
Yeah, so wear a harness. I'll buy you a harness if you really need one. Holy smokes. It's so gnarly, dude. Yeah, landowner's son said he wanted to go hunting, and he had some coal bucks he wanted to kill off this property, and I still got my tag, so I said, heck yeah. And we get up in the tree before dark, and I had to hang my hang-on, and he's standing there, and I said, do you want me to hook your harness up? And he goes, what harness? I was like, we are 22 feet in the air right now, and you don't have a harness. Wind's blowing 20 mile an hour. Tree's shaking. I said, you're insane. He doesn't have a bow pull-up rope or anything. He's like carrying his bow as he's going. And, oh my God. On his way down, he fell about 10 feet. He didn't die, nothing luckily, but golly, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I could not believe that was a thing.
While we're on gear and equipment, is there anything like new you guys tried out this year? Like, is it pretty
I'll tie the new gear into challenges.
challenges?
So I hung a lot of stands this year. The preseason, I had a lot of different like kind of goals there. I was gonna try a lot of different things out, and what I found was the areas that I were in were a long ways, and they would have to produce for me to continue hunt them because the walk was just atrocious. So like I think I had like 6 stands total in that public, and I got to like, it was like late October, like I want to say like the 28th, somewhere in there, and it wasn't panning out. I did a couple all day sets, I think maybe like the first or second, somewhere in there, and it just wasn't working. And I remember I was like, this isn't working out, something needs to change, and taking down a stand is just a lot of work. So what I did is I just was like, I'm gonna try see what a saddle's all about. And I think I tried Messmore's, but I already bought a saddle before that, so I was like, I hope this works out because it's gonna happen anyway. Because I was like, I just need to get mobile at a lighter setup. So I ended up buying one, and then I tried his out and was like, okay, this could definitely work. And so I'd say like the challenge led to success of just getting mobile and just getting aggressive. I just got really aggressive the first week in November, trying to do new spots, and then November 5th, the day we all shot our buck on, it was the same area I was familiar with, but it was just a completely different tree about like 80 yards away, and like that's all it took was just the different access, and then to go in a different way. I think it just surprised the deer in a way. And yeah, I would say just buying a saddle was a complete game changer for me, and it will be for the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure I'll sell all my stands and I'll just roll with that. And I think just the mobile setup was just a complete game changer for me and almost anyone who really gets into it.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think public land, you have to use a saddle because you have to be able to be mobile to get kind of anywhere.
Yeah.
That's why I bought one. And even on these properties, the private land properties I got now, I never stepped foot on them hardly. And so you just got to be able to set, learn, get down, move. But then it also could be a bad thing to. I moved closer to where I saw my target buck down here. He ended up exactly under the tree that I was at the day prior. So I mean, you just got to be smart with it and be able to know. But then also you have to be able to like, okay, I'm sticking to this tree. It's gonna happen at this tree at some point, type of deal. But
yeah, no. To get on the saddle topic. To get on the saddle top there, I knew I wanted to get mobile this year, especially hunting mainly public. And actually, I used it on my private land that I shot at that really nice buck at. And I kind of made an adjustment from the day before. I saw probably 15, 20 deer walk by this spot, and I just moved up the ridge 60 yards was all from a stand that was already there and had my opportunity. But I saddle coming into this year, I was a little hesitant on it. I was like, you know what, we're going to try it. If I don't like it, I'll just sell it. I'm in love with it now, and Hoodjer, I preached on him enough how much I loved it, and kind of been one of the purchasing influences, I think, for him. It's because I told him how much I loved it. I know you're talking about maybe looking into them.
Yeah, definitely between, me and DMAC messed around with his last year and then looking at yours and Jared's. The only reason why I didn't is because where I'm from, northern Minnesota, it's just the timber is so dense and it just doesn't really make sense to use a saddle instead of stands or permanent stands even. One, just because we know our property so well and our stands are in the best position they can be. And I would love to use a saddle in the future. And I agree that like being mobile and having that mobilization, especially on public, when there's human disturbances and deer are always moving, I would absolutely use one. But I just don't think as a senior and graduating, going back to Minnesota, if I was a freshman, like in your case, I would absolutely get a saddle, no doubt. But I just feel like I don't have as big of a need to use it up north as much.
Yeah. Do you guys have any like gear changes or anything this year?
This is kind of funny. I came in to here telling Hoodjer I was going to shoot a deer from the ground. And I made a bet that I was going to shoot a buck from the ground. And like it was even, I don't even know, it was probably like 2 weeks into the season. I was like, all right, screw it, I need to put a stand up. So I got a stand off Hoodjer. But yeah, like my first couple sits, I was just sitting on like this ridge, just sitting on my butt. And like, cause back at home, that's what I used. I never really deer hunted too much. So back at home, that's all I learned was just sit on a stump with my bow. And so I was really like hoping to be able to get one like that this year, but it didn't turn out. So I'm just glad I got put up in stands. So stands were just new to me. My first stand I actually have ever sat in was a different buddies on the team. And that was also a sketchy stand. I went into it and I didn't even know what I was really doing, but I got up the ladder, I sat on the stand, and I was like, okay, I need to like practice, kind of pull my bow back to see like if a deer comes from a certain angle or whatever. So I stand up and I turn, and the whole stand shifts with me. So then I was like, okay, no, I'm sitting down. So I pull the seat down, and the actual seat part was gone, and it was just duct tape wrapped between two poles. So I was sitting on duct tape, like 20 feet up in the air. For my first ever stand hunt, just shivering the whole time. I was scared. So yeah, but once I got into like some good stands, yeah, I think I'll stick to stand hunting, maybe even saddle, like they were saying.
No more ghillie suit?
Oh, and I brought a ghillie suit to get one off the ground.
Oh my god.
It's definitely a whole other.
You can use that for turkey hunting though.
I can't use that for turkey hunting.
Turkey
I can't
hunting,
use
yeah.
that for turkey hunting.
How about broadheads? Did you guys try any new broadheads this year at all? Last year we were using Exodus broadheads. Ero and I were.
I stuck.
New or anything?
So I stuck with QIDs and I loved them. When I shot my doe early September, excuse me. No, it would have been October. Yeah, it was October. Early October. It was like a 22-yard shot. I absolutely smoked her, and she probably ran like 15 yards, but the blood trail was just like not there at all. Yeah. So, we found the deer. She didn't run far at all, but in the back of my head I was kind of questioning going back to mechanical just to have a beggar enter and exit. But there was something in me telling just to stick with QEDs. Those things will blow through a diamond. So, and that's what I stuck with. That's what I shot my buck with. The interesting thing was the blood trail for my buck was just an absolute red carpet. Absolutely blew them open compared to just dots for my doe, but yeah, I stuck with them.
Same placement for the shot?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, but yeah, no, I stuck with QADs and I loved them.
I tried the new Sever 2.0s, those mechanicals.
Yeah.
And man, was that a red carpet too. And it was nuts how quick. Because my arrow wasn't a pass-through, but it did poke through both sides. And you could tell the two sides going down the trail where he piled up. He only went 65 yards before he died. And it was downhill, so like he could have got carried by the momentum. But I really enjoyed those Severs, and they are really nice for raccoons too. But they are a little over damaged for those. The top of the head goes right off sometimes. So be careful with those.
No, this year I've always been a really, really big Schwacker guy. Stuck with them. They've been my bread and butter for a lot of years. And Magnus Broadheads came out with an offer to me, so I switched it up this year. Went to a 4-blade through Magnus Broadheads, and I shot that doe opening day actually. And Braxton came out to track that. That was a red carpet damn near there too, and she only made it 20 yards.
If that.
if that. So I got nothing bad to say about them either. They fly. They honestly, I think they fly better than my Schwackers did too. But that could be a bow thing. I switched bows this year as well.
Man.
So
I think my opinion on it is, for anyone who's watching and they're contemplating on a different broadhead or what's better and what's not, I think the final verdict is every mainstream broadhead that is, at every retail store is going to kill a deer. And if you hit it in the right spot, it's going to bleed a lot. It just, if you're going to go mechanical or fixed, it all depends on what you think is better. In my opinion, I've shot QADs for 4 years straight, and I've shot four deer in a row and had no issues with the QAD. I will say those, like what Ero was talking about with the blood trail, I mean, I never had a blood trail really on almost any of them. I think it kills them, but it doesn't leave a massive hole that leads to, blood loss. But the biggest thing that I wanted was I was comfortable leaning more into like that V pocket where if you do hit that scap or have a humerus, you're going to go through that. I know a lot of people with mechanical, especially Rage, they hit a scap and you don't get any penetration, or even if it's high. There's a few deer I know that were hit high. You hit a deer high in the lungs and you don't get an exit. I mean, there's almost a little to no chance, especially a single lung, you're going to find that deer. So in my opinion, fixed blade I'll stick with. I don't know if I'm going to continue shooting the QADs. I was more leaning to more of a single bevel. I'm not sure what brand, but I think the hunting public shoots single bevel for the most part. So I think if that would be a change, that's what I would do.
I could see that for sure. Yeah.
Ocho, what are you shooting now?
Well, so last year I was shot the Rage, just the two.
The
And this
hypodermics?
year, what?
Hypodermics?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this year I didn't have enough broadheads, and Hoodjer had some dead meat.
Dead meat V2s is what they were.
There was a 3-blade.
The mega meat stuff, right?
Yep.
It's like the same thing.
Yeah.
Just smaller.
And
Yep.
you just had an unopened box of them, so I was like, I'll just buy those off you. And that's what I shot both my doe early season and then my buck with. And I was very pleased with the entry. And then I had an exit on my buck. But yeah, they were
Good blood trail?
both dead and a lot of blood.
Nice.
Didn't need much of a blood trail for your buck.
No.
To even go off that for like the whole broadhead debate, if you go to the store Walmart for that, you can buy yourself a cheap pack of 3-blade muzzies or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
That'll kill a deer all day long. It's gonna leave you probably 2-inch cut hole wherever
It's
you
an
go.
1.5 probably.
1.5 but still, like, if you don't need the top of the line broadhead, sir, they might be better in certain scenarios, but every broadhead has their goods and bads.
I think it matters more about where you shoot it rather than what you shoot it with.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, the difference between mechanical is like, if you shoot a deer in the guts, a fixed blade probably isn't gonna, you're not gonna find that deer in the guts. But if you, like for example with a Rage, you shoot a Rage through the guts, I mean, that's gonna tear some shit up in there. Sorry the language, but that will open that deer up and it will bleed more than a fixed blade. So your odds of finding a deer with a mechanical on a marginal back shot is going to be a lot higher, but it goes hand in hand with a lot of different things.
Yeah. My boss always told me that anything over 1.5 inches is what we shoot out in Wyoming. And he said any mechanical that's over 1.5 inches will make a marginal shot lethal. No matter what it is or where it is, you have a very high chance of finding that animal on a marginal shot. So that's just kind of what stuck with me, and that's why I changed over to the Severs, because I was shooting QADs as well. And last year I had no issues with them. It just I decided to kind of follow his lead, and that's why I changed over. And it worked out really well. I mean, that deer didn't stand a chance. So
No doubt. Anybody else?
I was kind of playing around with them. I was shooting, I think it's the Grim Reaper Whitetail Special. It's a big old 3-inch cut broadhead, and I shot my doe with it. And we got up to it and we were skinning it, and I punched it like top of the scap, still got through it, but it didn't open fully. It only opened maybe an inch.
Yeah, it did not open fully for sure.
Maybe an inch, and
I don't even think it hit scap. I think it just hit a rib and it didn't want to open.
I thought it hit the back, but yeah, it's still just. I've shot a deer with them before. I've had them open fully, and I look like somebody's walking around with a gallon of paint just dumping it down. Deer goes 20 yards. So I had that issue, and he'd given me just a 2-blade rage. I switched to that.
I gave you a Schwacker.
Or it was a Schwacker or whatever it was, just a 2-blade. I shot my buck with it. I had a 3-inch cut, and like what Hoodjer was saying, I shot a little bit back, and I had 2-inch cut and went through liver lung and went 50 yards, piled up. So
Yeah, I guess that's the difference between, I mean, you have your fixed blade mechanical, and then in mechanical, you go from front deploying to rear deploying. And with the Grim Reaper, like he was talking about,
there's a rear deploying.
if you shoot it at an angle, there's a low chance, or I mean, there's a lower chance of that broadhead opening up completely, rather than a rage. If it deploys different. So if that Grim Reaper, it'll do some damage if it completely opens. But as far as the front deploying, that's where it gets a little hairy. But yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a time out here.
These don't bounce. 12-gauge slugs do. I think.
What do you mean by
this-
bounce?
Skip.
Skip off what?
The ground.
You're not supposed to hit the ground.
Oh,
I missed. Okay.
that's what I was
But
confused
dude,
about. I thought you were saying like bounce off the deer. I'm like, I don't know.
I've seen an Ero do that off the backside.
Yeah,
like when it
skip up.
exits.
Those 450s, they dump. Like I single lunged. I shot one. I single lunged it, and it ran like 20 yards and just dropped. And
Really?
I gutted it, and it was just blown apart. I don't know. I don't understand because they dump so much, and they still keep going. Like my buddy's cousin that I was with, he shot his, and it went through the front shoulder, all the way through, shattered the back leg, and out. It makes no
That's
sense.
insane.
Anyways, back to hunting
Sorry.
of bows. We can get in the shotgun a little bit if we want to close this out, because this is mainly about our archery seasons. But what we're doing, we just finished with kind of like new gear and whatnot. Was there like this year I used a decoy for the first time ever. I used a doe decoy, and actually I think it worked. But that buck started walking right to me. Yeah, he came off another doe actually to come to that decoy, so I know I never would have got an opportunity at it if that didn't happen.
Was it a buck or a doe decoy?
It was a doe decoy. So he's coming to check her out, and obviously I had like estrus and whatnot on it, but that's just like, I've never been a decoy guy, and I was like, I got it for Christmas, and it's a really good spot to try it, kind of right at the point of a knob, and make a deer come up the rest of the way. But no, that's definitely a new decoy tactic for me. That was really new this season, and I'd probably try it more now that I've seen it work firsthand.
I tried a doe decoy this year too. I didn't have any luck with it, but I don't know.
Yeah. But
What about like tactics, like train tactics
Yeah.
or features
is there
that
really anything?
we try to key in on?
I'm always been a really big draw guy. You find a spot where a bunch of big hills and stuff kind of come all together and kind of create a multi-pass crossing in the bottom of a ravine somewhere. Kind of a natural draw, and sometimes you'll get lucky and find a creek line that leads up one of them, and deer just hug that creek line and whatnot. And our spot really kind of honed in on that with the way the lake wraps up and around there. Deer kind of push up and around the bedding if they're not going into the bedding. So.
What about you guys?
Yeah, mine was definitely had to focus on access too, because I had 2 access points honestly, and it was dependent on the stand I was going to. So if I was going to the north stand, I would have been fine going through the parking lot I was going through. But then the south stand, I had to go through a different access point, because if I was going to use that low one down by the river, I would have walked right down by bedding. So like understanding the terrain, and yeah, it made the walk 3/4 of a mile longer. But in the end, it's so much more worth it, because you don't want to bump any deer when you're walking in. You want to focus on like your noise, your scent control, and understanding that if you bump the deer right away in the morning, they're gone. You know. So understanding how important access points are, and just being able to sneak in and out that was a big thing for me this year.
You guys?
I kind of got most of my like spots, like where to put stands and stuff from them.
Just kind of a learning year.
Yeah, I kind of just
learn how we see things in a perspective that kind of been doing it for a couple years now, learning how deer work through here.
Yeah, so it was more of a learning season.
For me, I've kind of learned the hard way this past, I guess, last year and then at the start of this year, but it's kind of what they were saying, it's all access. You don't want to access it from the wrong side with the wind blowing. It's just, and you want to find a spot where you feel confident that you can get to with the right wind. And for me, it was just on a funnel system. Jared and I set it up together and didn't really see a whole lot there early season, but then right during the rut, I had my opportunity because it was on a ridge and it just got super steep, but then it flattened out, and then that's where I shot him.
Olson's spot was honestly like just a money setup, because when we walked it, he actually had a camera lower on the ridge, and then we kind of did some discussion, and we end up checking out this top of, and this was a big ridge system, and what we found was there was actually like a pond at the bottom of this ridge, and then there was a really steep draw that went all the way up, and that left about like a 40-yard buffer zone of where that draw it flattened out a little bit, and we ended up going across, and we got to thinking if a deer is going to travel alongside of a ridge, they're not going to go down the lower part because of how steep that draw was. I mean, they're just like humans. They're not going to want to take the hardest way across to get from point A to point B. They're going to go, and what we end up doing was we end up getting below on the ridge, where we got high up in the tree, where he was actually shooting up the ridge. Most people wouldn't think that, but with it would have been a west wind coming across that ridge for like a leeward side. It was honestly it was a good like ambush, because he would enter in from the low and then he would shoot up, and the deer would get funneled around this draw on the higher side where it's flatter and wouldn't have to do as much work. And I mean, we didn't figure that there was going to be many deer that went through there, but if a deer did, that's where they would be filtered through. So that's kind of how, like, so when you set up a spot like that, just seeing little stuff like that where how it funnels in, or it might be a nice area, but if we focus on like a little spot where it would be more concentrated through, that's where where I've always found my success. For myself, I feel like I was fortunate enough to shoot some deer on some public ground, and most people, in my opinion, they would shoot it and be like, oh heck yeah, like got one, and they wouldn't really go back and do a lot of backtracking. I always wanted to know the how and the why, and I like to have my theories on where they're bedded or where they're coming from, at least what their mind was doing. So like every deer that I would shoot, I would always backtrack and say, what was he doing this morning? He was obviously going back to bed in the morning, or at night if he was going to food, where he was eating, or what the acorns dropped and what areas. But I always backtracked and kind of like, okay, he came down this draw, or he was on this side, or how they kind of interact with topography of a ground. And I think each year I would see that and kind of make like a connection with something and put two and two together, where every year it just kind of got easier and easier, where okay, they're going to take this and this is how they're going to get across this ridge, or how they're going to filter down into a hub. Thermal hubs was like a big focus for me this year. Everything dumping down and then hunting like a hub scrape, that was a big focus for me too. But I think just reading like topography and seeing how deer move on a map, it makes e-scouting a lot better, and then you don't have to go boots to the ground as hard later once you kind of get into like the rhythm of things.
For sure.
Yeah, so in Iowa, when I was shooting that deer, I really was focusing on, okay, first off, did anyone else like notice how bad the rut was to begin with? I've always thought the 1st through the 7th was going to be like the best chasing of deer I've ever seen.
I did kind of see it. It was that second week of November that it really took off for us, from my perspective.
Yeah, I didn't see any chasing.
That 9 to 15 was really good for us.
Well, the snow hit, right? Wasn't that time where the snow hit?
No, snow didn't hit closer till after Thanksgiving there.
But so I was really thinking, okay, so bucks are going to be checking. I did a lot of e-scouting because I'd never been on this place, and Onyx, a 3D map on there now that you can like just change everything.
Yeah.
That helped so much
Yeah.
with my decision of where I was going to sit, because I found a really nice like. So everything, the food plots were on the very top, and then it kind of dove down into a bottom, and it was like a bowl. And I was like, okay, well, I almost guarantee you there's going to be does bedded down in there. And I found a little bench that the bucks would probably run back and forth to scent check in the mornings. And so I was using my thermals of, as they're rising, that buck's going to go running that trail there. And I was hoping I'd shoot him midday almost, which I could have twice, and I just was not ready at all. Trying to self-film for the first time was pretty tough.
Self-filming is not easy.
But,
It's not easy.
I ended up shooting that deer on that trail in the afternoon after he chased one of those. Like, I saw him check, I missed the opportunity to shoot him, then he chased those 2 does up and out of the bottom, got back on that trail, and that's when I shot him. So I was really just using the thermals this year, and I'm having a hard time with this property in Missouri for access. There's no good way to access this place at all. I'm walking across this open field to get there. It sucks.
Think deer watch you walk in, basically.
I don't know.
There. Yeah.
Huh?
Think your deer like watch you walk in across that field, or?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty much going to sit a full day hoping they forget they saw me in the morning.
Yeah.
That's
no,
pretty much how it
those
goes.
can be
And it's
tough.
cold now, so
And
that sucks.
I know how that feels because back home's a lot of flat river bottom farm ground, and so there's a lot of field. Probably there's spots that's 20, 30 yards of just timber along the river there. So I know that, and honestly, I tried to bring a little bit of that up here to Fayette and use the river here to just kind of hunt deer. And that's honestly when I had my success was because I knew how deer move around the rivers, and that's how I had my most success this season. Anybody else?
I think a big thing, if a guy wanted to learn more about thermals and bedding or anything with the wind and how the temperature affects the thermal and the scent control, I think you can get into a rabbit hole of like what works and what doesn't, but if the main point that I've learned in the last couple years is hunting the leeward side is absolutely like the biggest priority, and obviously access matters, but the way I hunted the last 2 years was to get really aggressive. In my opinion, like the crosswinds they worked for me. The just off wind where you give the deer the advantage rather than the hunter advantage. When you give the deer advantage, you give yourself more opportunities to see the deer, especially with the thermal pole. I know there was a couple spots that we used the thermal pole, especially with the water, to our advantage. I know me and Ero sat a spot, and then me and Olson had a spot, double stands together, where we used a creek as a thermal pole, where in the morning, especially obviously when the thermals are still dropping midway through the morning, but even when you get up to like the midday or whatever, if you're right over the top of the water, even though you'd think the thermals would rise, we would use it to our advantage where it would still pull down and even just carry with the current of the creek or whatever. But that was the biggest like focus that we did for different spots, is we just used the water to our advantage, and let that kind of help us out as far as the thermals go.
For sure. I use water as much as I can too, and I know you've heard me point out water, like, oh, there's water here, I want to check it out. Yeah, but no, thermals are a whole different ball game of just hunting in general. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on terrain or anything like that? No. Yeah, what's the next thing on there?
It was like blind stacks.
Was it? I just put a bunch of random stuff.
What is this?
Did you guys have any crazy encounters with any deer? Like, did you see anything that you've never seen before? Like, watching the buck mount a doe, that was pretty cool. I've seen that one other time, and really, I mean, it's pretty interesting to actually see that side, because normally they're in the thickest stuff ever, but you did it in a wide open. It was nuts.
Just letting it hang.
Me and Ero, we had a crazy experience up in the stand. He can touch more on that because that's kind of his deal. But that was probably one of the craziest things that I've ever kind of saw in the stand. But
yeah, so me and Hoodjer went out. I don't know.
It was late October.
Late October.
Yeah.
We decided that we both were going to bring our bows. We were kind of going back and forth. If I was just going to bring my camera and film and bring my bow, whatever. Ended up both taking our bows, and we got out there early, set up the stand. That was kind of a fiasco in itself, just in the dark. And we didn't see anything right away. We're sitting in the stand. I don't really got a whole lot of movement to do because I got my bow next to me, and then I got my camera, whatever. And I'm sitting there, and my camera's just sitting on my lap. And I don't know if I moved or what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, I'm like looking off to my left or something, and I just hear a whole bunch of commotion below and then a splash. And I look on my lap, and I'm like, what's going on? My camera's gone. So Hoodjer's looking around going, like, what was that? And I look it up, I was like, my camera just fell. So we start freaking out, whatever. We climb down out of the tree, got to grab it out of the river, wipe it off, instantly put it in the bag of rice. And then, so this whole thing is happening. I'm flustered. We don't know what the heck's going on. I'm angry. We get back up in the tree, and then it was probably like 15, 20 minutes later, we had 4 does come walk in right on us. Neither of us ended up getting a shot, but yeah, that was quite the experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
About the time when you thought there was a Bigfoot out in Volga.
There might be still.
That was funny.
I think I had an experience with your Bigfoot.
Oh God.
I was out last time I hunted. I got permission. There's a power line right behind the golf course here. You go out by the football stadium, get on that road. I was hunting that. It was the day before I shot my buck. I was out there. It was probably like 4. It was maybe 5 o'clock. Sun had just gone down, and all of a sudden I just hear a bunch of splashing, and then I hear turkeys getting up. I saw one deer go running, like hauling away, and I was just listening to the splashing, and I'm sitting there like, I really don't want to know what is making that splashing. I don't think it's a deer, because it sounded big, and I know there's black bears in Volga.
Yeah.
I've been a little too close to them turkey hunting, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna go, and I just climbed out of the stand with probably 20 minutes of daylight left and just left. I'm like, not for me.
Bucked up.
Didn't even take the crossing that's there. Just walked right through a river that was probably knee deep and got in my car and went home.
Yeah, that's funny.
I think this isn't too crazy, but it was kind of just like happened so quick. We were doe hunting, and Olson was in the stand like probably 30 yards from me. They were like just looking, like he was just there to watch, and I was just sitting there. I remember we were playing like game pigeon because we were bored, and I texted him. I was like something's gonna happen. I feel it, and I'm not really paying attention. All of a sudden, we just hear crashing behind me, complete opposite way. They came. I had this like hill behind me, kind of like I don't want to say cliff, but it was a pretty steep hill behind me. And 3 does came sprinting down. From the top of the hill was a road. I was like 50 yards from a road. You could see like cars passing, everything. So I think I got spooked by a car or something. 3 does came crashing down, and they stopped directly under my stand. And the first 2 were like they knew something was up, but the back one was staring at me, just stomping and snorting. And I was like, oh God, like there's no way I'm gonna get my bow out in time. And the first one literally just creeps a little bit to where I could get it on my right hand side, and I was able to stick an arrow through her, and she dropped like 10, 15 yards from the stand. It was straight. Yeah. I felt like I just stuck my arm out and shot her. But yeah, it was pretty crazy that they just came in like that in a second from where I wasn't expecting. And then with the buck I shot, the whole time I would get in there and I'm like, I keep hearing crunching. I look down and I've like never seen a possum while I'm in my stand. I have a video. I swear it was 8 different possums. Every time I heard crunching, there was a possum under my stand. They were just like, I think it was a whole family of like 8 of them. So when that buck came in, I heard the crunching, and I was like, I didn't even like care to look up. I was like, it's just another possum, and I thank God I like looked up and it was right there. But I've never seen one possum, but I saw 8 possums that one night. I thought it was pretty crazy.
You should also tell them about the tracking story for that buck.
Oh, is it time to?
We can get a tracking, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I guess I'll start it. Okay, so I shoot the deer, the buck, and when I shot it, it head straight to the floor, did a front flip, and it took off like just down a trail. But whenever that happened, it was of course daylight, and I call the buddies and stuff, and they finally get there, and it's pitch black. So we get down, and I'm taking them to the spot where I thought I shot it at, and there was no blood anywhere. And so I'm like, I swear he went this way. So we're going down a trail, and we walked like for probably 30 minutes down different trails and stuff, and there was no blood. And like I started to almost tear up. I was like, dang, I missed him. Like we couldn't find my arrow.
It was a goose chase.
Yeah, it was a goose chase. So then Hoodjer looks at me. He's like, Owen, get back up in the stand. And I was dreading getting back up in that stand because I didn't want to climb. I didn't want to climb over a dead branch again and get back up to that stand. So I finally got up there and I shined my light. And I was like, oh, I shot him over here. It was like 20 yards away from where I was pointing him to. And Hoodjer is like, oh, so we went down this trail. And he's standing where I like was shining my light. He shines his headlight up. Literally from where he was standing, the deer was like 20 yards up the trail dead.
So he called me.
Goodness.
He called me and he said, I said, okay, what if you didn't see the shot, what did the deer act like? And he said, head went to the ground, chest went to the ground, did a front flip. And I'm like, okay, well, if what you're telling me is true, you heart punched this deer. You heart punched him. And so we get out there, me and Olson were, and I'm like, all right, get in the stand and show me where you shot him because we couldn't find any blood. And I mean, he led us down a wild goose chase. I'm saying we walked everywhere but where this deer was, and I'm like, get in the stand, dude. And then he was like refusing to. And I'm like, if you're saying you shot him right here, I was like, he had to have taken this trail. And I shined my bright light that I got, and I followed this trail up, and I'm like shining all at the last part where I could see this trail. And I see like a white like belly was what it looked like. And I'm like, that looks like a deer right there. And then they're like, no, we already walked. I thought it was a deer too. And I'm like, no, I think that's a deer. And they were like, it was Owen. He refused that it wasn't. He was so adamant that it wasn't a deer. And I was like, all right. So we started end up walking, and then the deer only went like 40 yards. And then we spent probably, what do you think? Was it like a good hour looking for a deer that went 40 yards? And like,
in the other direction.
In the complete other direction.
And I felt so dumb because it should have been so easy to get him out of there, but it worked out. But man,
it was funny because I was on my way home. I wasn't even around, and Rolly calls me in the stand. He's like, I just shot a monster. I don't know how big it is, but there's stuff going everywhere. And he ran into the corn. And I was like, right on, that's going to be money or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then they finally call me like an hour and a half later. I'm texting them left and right, like, give me an update, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And they finally call me, and I'm like, did you find him? And they're like, yeah, we got him, he's a monster. And I was like, so how far in the corn did he go? And Rolly goes, yeah, I ran the opposite direction away from the corn. And I'm like, what? But he got it done. It was pretty sweet.
The funny part was, like, I didn't know. I was like, when I saw him, he was so close, and like I was so high above him, I couldn't like see how big he was really. All I saw was like the tops of his antlers like going all over the place. So like when I called my dad and stuff, I was like, yeah, I think I shot like a pretty big 8-pointer. Like I thought I didn't honestly know it was like big. So then when we were getting up to it, I was the first person to like see it, of course, and I lift up its antlers, and I'm like, oh my god! Like the first thought was like, this isn't my deer. Like my deer went the other way. This isn't my deer. And I'm looking at it, and Hoodjer and Olson finally get up to me, and Hoodjer just looks at me. He's like, bro. He's like, do you know what you just did? Because they thought it was like not like anything too crazy the whole time, and yeah, it was just like it was surreal like looking at it, like seeing actually like how big that was, and like I didn't even like think of it when I put my arrow into it. All I saw was rack. So
Yeah, and that was also like one of the easiest but yet toughest drags I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, the drag out after we finally got it done. That drag was a long. How many yards was it?
Oh, and it was all of almost 3/4 of a mile, but
It was flat. It was just so hard to drag that buck.
we were in a time crunch, and there were some things that we had to attend to, so we were trying to get back quick. But no, it worked out. It was good.
Heck yeah. So,
Hoodjer's buck last year was a heck of a drag too.
Yeah, I will say, and I will continue to say this: the buck that I shot in 2024, that was a drag that I don't wish on anyone. And DMAC, he was the only guy besides Olson came at the end, but through the thick of it, DMAC was with me dragging that sucker out. Me and Ero, we didn't even like communicate at that time because we just like we were close, but we just didn't like really get into it.
Right.
But that was pretty crazy drag. It was about a mile.
That was not exactly flat.
No, up and down draws and it was not fun.
But hey, we got it. We did it. So.
anybody else got any, like, I know your drag wasn't terrible, was it?
No, for the most part, I was downhill.
Oh yeah.
And then once we got onto the horse trail, there was a big, steep incline, but after that, I kind of just leveled out. Wasn't probably more than half a mile.
It was nice
On the horse trail?
That was downhill to
Yeah,
the trail,
yeah. Then once we got on the horse trail, it was probably about half a mile. Right around there.
DMAC, I don't know if you guys have e-bikes out west, but if you have like some sort of promotion on e-bike, hit me up because that is something I'm going to buy in the near future.
No, dude, we drive everywhere. And if we can't drive up to the animal, we're carrying it out. That sucks. Oh,
Throw it
my
on your
goodness.
back.
So we ended up, myself, I helped with 24 elk this year, carrying those buggers out of there.
Just you?
Huh?
Just you?
Well, I think we killed 60-some elk in total. So we,
That'll work.
me and obviously the hunter and then my boss, I mean, we carried at least 22 to 26 is what we kind of figured out. So
That's sweet.
Oh, yeah.
if you have an e-bike, let me know. I'm taking that sucker up the mountain then.
I know a guy that'll just backpack it out.
Yeah. Yeah, just throw it on your back. Get a little
Yeah, I was
leg
gonna say,
day.
Ero, you're just gonna throw the whole thing on your back, don't you?
Yep. Yep, pretty much.
I could get on that same workout schedule as you, preferably. I need to.
Yeah, just gotta shoot some deer.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, let's go do it. We still got, I think we're supposed to still shoot like 15 does off this property here before the end of the year, so feel free, guys.
That'll be sweet.
Anybody planning on going later, like this late season? I know DMAC is. I still have my buck tag and a doe tag for archery, and I plan on getting my muzzleloader tag as well. Is anybody else kind of
When I head back home to Missouri, I'm gonna bow hunt late season.
Missouri?
Yeah.
You
I'm done for the season.
done for the season?
I just got rifle second season. We're in shotgun 2 right now, so I got a couple days left in that. Probably hunt until latest will be this coming Friday, and then I gotta head back up north. But other than that, no.
I went down to southern Iowa this last weekend with my buddy Tim Swanson, and he was nice enough to let me tag along with his group and show me kind of the ropes down south in an area I've never been before, and kind of got introduced to some public ground down there that is a lot more vigorous than what I'm used to. But I'm not sure what I'm gonna plan on doing this weekend, but yeah, last week was fun for me.
Up you, Braxton?
I'm done for the year. I've got
Done.
5 deer on the ear, so
Hanging it up on the
Jeez.
gun.
Good way to go out.
Rack and stack it.
No, I'd definitely try to get 3 or 4 more deer on the ground myself. I know my dad will be out there, probably get some filming for him. But we've stumbled across some where I shot that really nice buck. We stumbled across a picture out there that we're gonna chase pretty hard this late season. So can't show that picture for reasons, but
Yeah, makes sense.
but no, we're gonna be out that way hunting pretty hard, hopefully.
Right on.
What's the schedule like for your videos coming out this are you doing it this fall, this winter for you?
for me, I've been
Yeah.
pretty consistent. I haven't posted in about a week and a half, but I try to post every week. Like we're gonna get Roscoe over here out rabbit hunting. I don't know if any of you guys are tagging along for that or not.
Roscoe, I didn't know you were like that.
But he's a really good rabbit hunter. He'll chase pheasants too. So we've got we'll
Pheasant on it.
CRP.
That pheasant might chase him.
We'll definitely try to get some videos out this winter with him, and then obviously ice fishing. I love ice fishing, so
Nice.
we'll get videos pushing out that way.
We got 2 quail hunts coming up.
Yeah.
I got late season alternative for deer, late season bow, and then we'll head to Oklahoma here in January or February for hog hunting.
Yeah, hog hunting would be fun.
And then turkey swing starts March down in Florida. So
I'm hoping to get into the walleye a bit this spring before turkey, but we'll see what happens there.
yeah.
How about you, DMAC? When are you going to start? I mean, it's obviously tough hunting and bringing young guys out, getting them on deer. What's your plan with like editing all your stuff and then throwing them up?
So currently, I just got done editing and finished up my youth season stuff for the kids. So with the DMAC Outdoors stuff, we're going to start taking out. We're going to try to take out about 5 to 10 youth hunters every youth season down here in Missouri. Pretty cheap for them to get out here. And I have a lot of landowners that are willing to let them shoot their first deer, and that's kind of what we're going to focus on is kids shooting their first deer. The youth hunter I had here this last week, or 2 weeks ago, he was very successfully shot on the first day. And we're going to start posting those videos. Hopefully I'll have both videos done, and I'll post one this week, probably my Iowa buck this next coming week, and then the youth hunt the following week after that. But definitely, so DMAC Outdoors is going to be kind of starting up quite a bit.
Heating up a little bit.
I love it. No, for sure, guys. Go check him out. Like I said in the beginning of the video, he's a great guy, doing great things, and hopefully can really kind of take off for him, the same as it did for us here this last season. I mean, I think this summer I was at maybe 200 subscribers, and we're pushing 5K now at the end of the season. So
heck yeah, that's awesome.
There you go.
So it's crazy, and it's just support all around me, and having guys like DMAC here, and then obviously all you fellas, and blessed is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Definitely, if you guys want to branch out south and hunt, I mean, I've seen so many deer here, like tons. Yeah, Rolly.
Yeah, we go with
DMAC, you don't know Rolly, but he's a Missouri boy, so you two would get along very well.
Heck yeah.
I think what I kind of started hunting with was like waterfowl and stuff too. So
Yeah.
big goose hunter, big duck hunter back home. So if you're ever around me and you want to go on a goose hunt, one of the farms, you text me and I'll put you on some good goose feeds. So
Heck yeah, man. Let's do it for sure.
yeah.
Well, with that being said, I think that's probably a pretty good wrap. We've got at least an hour and 20 of video, I'd say. So
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone that's watching is curious about maybe like how to read a map or maybe not having
reach out,
any experience with like the topography I was talking about, I might post a video about that. So if that's out about and you want to check that out,
I can link that and link his YouTube one out in the bottom. I'll have all their socials, like
Heck yeah.
handles, in case
Definitely.
anything they talked about, you got questions, whatever. Obviously, DMAC's YouTube and socials will be out there. But no, it's been a great year and a lot of learning for a lot of us and getting closer for a lot of us. So
sure.
This is just a start for us, and hopefully bigger, better things come next year. I know Hoodjer and I talked about taking a trip next year, possibly, and maybe we can get 3 or 4 guys round up for that and make it one heck of a trip. So
Heck yeah.
definitely be part of it. For now, it's going to be a little game and ice fishing. Heck yeah.
Alright, good stuff.